everyone, it's Nadia from YARNutopia. Today we are making this Misfit monster hat. This is so adorable. It is for a baby. I'm making this for my baby. I'll get into the supplies we need and get into the other information about sizing, and then we'll get into making this fun project. How cute is that though? Oh my goodness. So big thank you to Red Heart Yarns for providing the yarn today. I have like half used skeins like all around my craft room, so I just decided to use some scraps up that I had. So this is kind of a scrap project, which is really cool. So main color here is this Calypso green. I actually don't really know the color. I think it's called Glowworm. I will put the colors, you can see my stash way up there. There we go. Oh, there's green. Yeah, don't look at my mess in my craft room. Ew. But yeah, there's green. It is the Glowworm. And then there's also bright yellow, and then we have this flamingo color here, and then this is warm brown. And then I'm also using a tiny little bit with the teeth here in the inside of this hive with Amore yarn. This is not Red Heart Super Saver, but it is Red Heart. It's called Amore, and I love the softness of this yarn. But you could use an off-white Super Saver as well. So it does not matter. It's the same ply, same everything. So this is a size 4 medium worsted weight yarn. It's very similar to an Aran yarn. Also, you could use a double knitting yarn. So really a nice pattern for those kinds of yarns. And this is super adorable. But if you want to make this in bigger sizes, I give information throughout this video for larger sizing. But the other supplies you're going to need, obviously, a crochet hook. We are using an F-sized crochet hook, which is 3.75 millimeters. This super fancy crochet hook I'm using is from the Etsy shop, Would Be Fancy, and this is a hand-carved ergonomic wooden handled crochet hook. Literally when you put your hand around it, it fits in the palm of your hand, the curvature of everything. It is ergonomic and it's so wonderful. I use these crochet hooks in all of my video tutorials, and a lot of people ask me where they can get them. They are on Etsy, on the Etsy shop Would Be Fancy. I'll put a link in the description of this video so you can get the link to go shopping there, and they're super fabulous crochet hooks. I also am using a scissors, obviously, to cut my yarn, and a yarn needle to sew in some ends and sew on the embellishments, which we are creating the embellishments. These are the two eyes we sew on and the teeth we sew on, and there's a part in here where we actually sew on part of this little horn here. So very easy pattern, and obviously if you follow along with this tutorial you'll be able to make this hat, and you'll be able to make this hat bigger just by following along with the increases in the sizing. So very easy. But I have to say a huge thank you to Red Heart Yarns for providing the yarn for this project. They are so wonderful, and I had all these scraps that I just wanted to use up, so it's really easy. And also big thank you to my dad, who's videotaping this whole tutorial for everybody and uploading it to the YouTube channel, and big thank you to you for watching. So follow along with the written pattern on YARNutopia.com for this hat. Follow me on all social pages. All the links are in the description of this video. And before you begin, if you're not subscribed, hit the red subscribe button and the bell so you can get the update when we post our next video. And now we can get started and make this hat together. Alright, we're going to start out by making the shell of the hat, so get your main color, and we're going to start off with a slip knot. So put your short end over your long end, then fold this down, and then pull your long end through and pull tight. There's your slip knot. You can insert your hook and pull that a little bit tighter there, just like that, and we can begin. So let's start off by chaining 2. Now if you wanted to start off with a magic ring, you can start that way as well, but I'm just going to start off by chaining 2. So yarn over, pull through, there's 1 and 2. And now in that second chain from the hook, way over here, this one right here, we're going to put 9 half double crochets in there. So a half double crochet, we're going to yarn over, okay, go into that second chain from the hook right here. Just go in, you can go in 1 loop or 2 loops. Yarn over and pull it through that chain. So now we have 3 loops on the hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 of those loops, and that is considered a half double crochet. So there's 1, so we have to put 9 of them in here, and we're going to work in a circular form here. So yarn over, go back into that same chain, yarn over, pull through, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. So there's 2, here's 3, 4, 5, 6, it's going to get pretty tight here, 7, 8, and 9. Awesome. So if you have to, count back 9 stitches, go into your very first stitch, okay, under the front and back loop, just like this, and make a slip stitch. So yarn over, pull through, and pull through that loop on your hook, pull tight, and that closes round 1. Now you can see here's a little tiny hole in there. That's because in the chain 2 process of starting a project, that tiny hole shows up, but I'll use this strand here when I sew it in, and I will cinch that closed so there will be no hole on the top, and I'll do that later. But right now we're going to go on to round 2, so let's chain up 1, and we're going to turn our work around, okay? And what we're going to do is work in this stitch right here, okay, right here, next, okay? So and the stitch that we slip stitched into, if you can see it right here, the slip stitch is right there, and the stitch that we worked into is right here. Okay, we're going to be working in that last, and I'll show you when we finish this round. But what we're going to do for round 2 is put 2 half double crochets into each stitch around. So yarn over, okay, go into this first stitch, and if you pull it kind of towards you, you can see the stitch there. Okay, so we're going to yarn over, go into that stitch. I know my yarn is in the way there, but you can see we're in the front and back loop of that stitch there. Then we're going to yarn over and pull it through, and then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. So there's our first stitch. We have to put 2 half double crochets into each stitch, so go back in, so yarn over, go back into that same stitch that we just put this stitch into, yarn over, pull through, and then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. Okay, now we can hop to this next stitch, which is right here. We're going to yarn over first, go into that next stitch there, okay, and make your 2 half double crochets, 1 and 2. Now in this project, if you do not want to turn your work around, you don't have to actually, but I'm going to because my seam seems to stay in one spot. It doesn't have a traveling seam, and if you know in crochet, traveling seams are more like diagonal looking in hats if you do not turn your work. But when you turn your work, your seam it's just straight. It's just completely straight down the back, and that's what we want in this hat. So I'm just putting 2 half double crochets into each stitch around. You can actually continue watching me because I'm almost done, and on the hat that I'm working on, I'm going to be turning my work every round, and I will be chaining 1 in the beginning of every round. Okay, and that's in the written pattern as well. It shows in the written pattern. So when you come to your last stitch, you may see that this stitch looks like the last stitch, but in fact there is 1 more stitch right here. And you can see the slip stitches there, into that from the previous round, right into this stitch. This is our last stitch, and if you count your stitches around, at this point I only have 16 stitches, so I need 18 at the end of round 2, so that's why we have to still put our 2 last stitches into this stitch. So at the end of round 2 you should have 18 stitches around. And so if you need to count back 18, go to the first stitch, which is right here. Okay, so if you can see here is our chain 1, I don't know if you can even really see that, but our chain 1 is right there, okay, and our first stitch is right here. So we're going to go into the front and back loop of our first stitch, and then yarn over, pull through, and pull through. And that's round 2. Okay, so then chain 1 and turn the work around, and now we're going to be working into this stitch first. Okay, and we are going to, for round 3, it says to put 2 half double crochets in this next stitch right here. So right in this stitch here, put 2 half double crochets, 1 and 2, and then just put 1 half double crochet into this next stitch. And then just repeat that sequence all the way around. So 2 half double crochets in the next stitch, 1 and 2, and then 1 half double crochet into the next stitch. Okay, 2 half double crochets in the next stitch and 1 half double crochet in the next stitch. And at the end of round 3, you'll have 27 half double crochet stitches. So I'm going to do that, and I'll come back and we'll go on to round 4 next. Alright, don't forget to put your very last stitch into this stitch right here where our slip stitch is placed. So go into the last stitch. Like I said, just make sure you count 27 stitches at the end of this round, and you should be able to have your last stitch worked in there. Now we're going to count back 27 and go into the very first stitch of this round right here and slip stitch. So go in, yarn over, pull through, and through. Then we're going to chain 1 and turn our work around. Okay, and we're working in this stitch first. So what we're going to do for round 4, we are going to put 2 half double crochets in this next stitch. So 1 and 2, and then we're just going to put 1 half double crochet in each of these next 2 stitches here. So just 1 in this stitch and 1 in this stitch. And then just repeat that sequence all the way around. So 2 half double crochets into this next stitch, and then 1 half double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. So 1 in that one and 1 in that next one. Just like that. Okay? And then just repeat all the way around. So at the end of round 4, you should have 36 half double crochet stitches. So I'm going to do that sequence all the way around, just repeating, and then once I have my 36 stitches, we'll go on to round 5. Alright, just finishing up round 4, I have to put my 1 half double crochet in the last 2 stitches here. There's 1 and 1. And now we can go on to round 5 next here. Let's slip stitch to the first stitch right here. So the first half double crochet stitch right there, yarn over, pull through and through, chain up 1, going on to round 5 now. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Turn your work around. And for round 5, we are going to put 2 half double crochets in the first stitch. 1 and 2, and then 1 half double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. So this one, the next one, and this next one. Okay, and then we're just going to repeat that whole sequence all the way around. So 2 half double crochets in the next stitch, 1 and 2, and then 1 half double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. 1, 1, and 1. And then repeat. 2 in the next, 1 in the next 3. And just continue that all the way around. At the end of round 5, you'll have 45 stitches around, so I'll do that and then I'll come back. We'll go on to round 6 next. Alright, don't forget that last stitch in the last stitch of this round. Going on to the next round here, I'm going to slip stitch into the first half double crochet stitch, yarn over, pull through and through. And now at round 6, we are going to chain 1 and turn our work around. and we are going to put 2 half double crochets in this first stitch here. Okay, I know this might look like a stitch here, but it's not. I don't know if you can see that, but sometimes that looks like a stitch right there, but it's so difficult to get your hook in there. That's not a stitch. So we're going right here into this stitch. So yarn over, go into the stitch. Okay, oh, right. Sorry, I was looking at my screen and not my work. There we go. So we're going into that stitch there, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through all 3, and again 2 half double crochets in that first stitch, and then 1 half double crochet in each of the next 4 stitches. So there's 1, next one is 2, here's the next one, that's 3, and 4. Okay, and then just repeat that sequence all the way around. So 2 half double crochets in the next stitch, and then 1 half double crochet in each of the next 4 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then just repeat. 2 in the next, 1 in the next 4. So do that. At the end of round 6, you will have 54 stitches, and that's all the amount we need to increase for this type of hat, for this baby hat. So we are going to do that, and then I'll come back. We'll go on to round 7 next. Alright, I have my 54 stitches. I'm just going to slip stitch into the first half double crochet stitch right here, yarn over, pull through, and through. Alright, so this is what your work should look like right now, just a big circle. This is so nice. Now, if you wanted to increase this more, if you want to make a bigger hat, just increase with the increases from the previous rounds. So, for round 8, you would go on to doing chain 1 and turn your work, obviously, and then you would do 2 half double crochets in the next stitch and 1 half double crochet in the next 5 stitches, and repeat that. And then the row after that, row 9, you would do 2 half double crochets in the first stitch, 1 half double crochet in the next 6 stitches. And then the row after that, the next 7 stitches, the row after that, the next 8 stitches, but always putting 2 in the first stitch of that sequence. I hope that made sense. You can see this in the written instructions how to do the increases, but once you get to the point of your increase size that you want the crown to be, this is how big I want my crown to be, and I can actually measure it out for you at this point. So you know how wide mine is, about almost 4 inches across, and 4 inches is 10 centimeters. So that's about how big mine is across the diameter. Okay, and that will fit my son, his head. So he's 6 weeks old at this point when I'm filming this tutorial. So next we are going to go on to the next step of making the holes in here to make the, I guess, horns of this monster. So I'm going to chain 1 and turn my work around to the back here, and we are going to half double crochet into these first 6 stitches, so no more increasing. So we're just going to half double crochet into the first 6 stitches. Okay, so there's 1, here's 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And now what we're going to do is chain 6. So yarn over, pull through, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then we're going to skip 6 stitches on this round. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Go into the 7th stitch. We're going to yarn over. Okay, go into that 7th stitch. Let me recount here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th stitch right here. So skip 6 stitches, go into the next stitch here, and make a half double crochet. And we're actually going to half double crochet into 24 stitches. Okay, so that was considered 1. So yarn over, go into the next 2. Okay, I won't make you watch me half double crochet into 24 stitches. So just do that, and then I'll show you what to do after that. Alright, I just half double crocheted into these 24 stitches here after this chain 6 hole, so I'm pretty close to being right across from this chain 6 hole over here. So now what I want to do is make another hole. So chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and do the same thing. Skip the 6 stitches here and half double crochet into the next, and just half double crochet into the rest of the stitches, and there actually should be, I believe, 12 stitches left, so I'm just going to quickly half double crochet into those ones, and you can just continue watching. Now if you did make larger sizes, if you figured out the stitch counts for larger sizes, just mark your 6 stitches across from each other. It doesn't have to be super exact, but just 2 holes for horns, so just do that on yours if you made yours bigger. But now I'm coming to the end here, so again I just have to make one last stitch into there, and we are going to slip stitch into the very first half double crochet stitch right here, and then we are going to go on to the next round. So slip stitch. And so now your work should look something like this with 2 holes. And you can kind of see the sides are coming up, and this looks awesome. Okay, so now what we're going to do is for round 8, chain 1 and turn your work. Always do that for every single round, regardless. Just chain 1, turn your work. And we are going to just put 1 half double crochet into each of these stitches and into each of the chains. Now you could actually, no, you have to actually work into the actual chain, and I'll show you that in just a second here. Let me get through these first 12 stitches here. I'm just going to go really fast because you guys know how to do a half double crochet by now. So I'm just half double crocheting into each of these first 12 stitches. Okay, and once you get to a chain space, there's 2 chain spaces on this round, we are going to yarn over, go into one of the loops on the chain. Okay, you have to actually go into the chain and not into the chain space. Okay, don't work around the chain, work into each of these 6 chains. Okay, and I know it's going to be a little difficult, but you can do it. There's 1. Here's 2. And the reason we're working into the chain is because when we create the horn, we are going to be working on the opposite part of the chain. And if you worked into the chain space, into this hole, then you wouldn't be able to attach your yarn to anything making stitches for when we create the horns. So I hope that makes sense, but it definitely will later. So we're just making these 6 stitches here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, that one was in that stitch there. So now just continue on working into each of the stitches. This part's easy. And then when I get to the next chain space, I'm just going to work into each of the chains, each of the 6 chains, and then finish off those last 6 stitches, just working a half double crochet into each one of those. And then I'll come back and I'll show you what to do for round 9. Alright, I just finished round 8, so I'm just going to yarn over, pull through and through on that first stitch there, and slip stitch and close that round. So you can see I worked into each stitch and each chain of those chain 6 spaces and just made my stitches. So now you should still have the 54 stitches around, so this is what it should look like. It's starting to bowl up. Cute. It's gonna look so cute. Okay, so now rounds 9 through 20, or however long you want this to be, we are going to chain 1 and turn our work around. Okay, that's every round, and we're just gonna put 1 half double crochet into each stitch around. So very simple rounds, just chain 1, turn your work, and half double crochet into each stitch around, slip stitch to the very first stitch just like I showed you for every round, and then we're just going to do that for rounds 9 through 20, or however long you want to make this. And then once I finish round 20, I'll come back on screen and I'll show you what to do next. Alright, when you finish round 20, just slip stitch to the first stitch and then chain 1 and fasten off. You can go it longer if you want to, but I'm just going to cut my yarn and pull it through that chain 1 and pull tight, and then I'm going to sew that in. And I ended up doing a few things off camera. You can see one of the horns I did because they're both the same, so I'm going to show you that. And then I did one of the eyes off camera as well, and I'll show you that as well. So we're going to do two eyes and 2 horns. Dun dun dun. So we're gonna do that on camera, just showing you 1 horn and 1 eye, and then you just do the same for the other one. And this hat, I'm actually going to be folding up the lip of this one to fit on my son's head, so we're just gonna fold that up just like that. But you don't have to if you don't want to. You can do less or more rows, it does not matter. But I'm going to grab my yarn needle real quick and I'll just show you how I sew in my ends, this long end here. And then we can do the horn next. So, oh my goodness. Sorry. Okay, so I just take my yarn my yarn needle, and just go underneath these stitches in the back here. There we go, just like that. And you can go back and forth if you want, and then just cut the extra. And the one inside the hat here, again, we're just going to yarn the needle with that strand. And like I said earlier in this tutorial, this hole here is kind of bothersome, so I'm just going to go around the base of these stitches from round 1 and just pull them tight, and that closes that little hole. And I'm going to, I lost my yarn here, so I'm just going to go around once or twice and just secure that, and then again cut the extra. And there we have it. So now we want to make the horn. So as you can see here, I made 1, and we're going to make 1 right here. So what we're going to do is start in the back. As you can see, my seam is right here. You can kind of see it. I mean, not too bad, but if you really are looking at it, looking at it, you can see it right here. Okay, so that's the back of the hat. So we are going to look at the stitches on the horn. You can do either one. This is exactly the same. Look at the back side of it. So right back here, I'm just going to insert my hook into one of the stitches. Okay, just like that. And you can count 6 on this side and 6 on this side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 right here. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 there. So we're going to attach our some more yarn here. And we want to start with a long strand. So look here, we're going to start with a longer strand, and we are going to fold that in half and then hook that on. We're going to use that long strand for sewing later, okay? And because we're going to actually create a hole. So it's good to start with a long strand, and we're going to chain 1 here, and we're going to half double crochet into each of the 12 stitches. So this is 1. Okay, we're just half double crocheting. So there's 1, and I'm going to go to this side here, yarn over, go into this next stitch way over here, and this is going to create a hole, a wide gaping hole that's super ugly. But we will sew that closed later and it will look super fabulous. So don't worry about that giant hole. That's what this long strand is for, actually. I'm going to shove this inside so it's not distracting us. Okay, so we're going to evenly half double crochet 12 stitches around. So I'm just going to go in each of these stitches right here, and you could just continue watching because there's only 12. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on this side, and there's already 1 on this side, so I have to do 5 more stitches. And we worked in the chains here, so we have we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches here, but they're the base of the chain from that previous, chain round, round 7 of our work. So it's going to be kind of tricky because we're working on the other side of the chains. But as you can see here, I'm just working in each one of those. Alright, so now I have my 12 stitches. So now we are going to slip stitch to the first stitch right here, go into that first half double crochet stitch, yarn over, pull through and through, and we're going to turn our work so we're looking at the inside of our horn, and we're going to chain up 1. Okay, so that was round 1 of the horn. Now round 2 of the horn says to half double crochet in each stitch around. So yarn over, go into this next stitch here. Okay, just half double crochet in each stitch around. And I'm just working now, looking at the inside of the horn. Okay, and we're just going to half double crochet around. So I'm just going to do that, and then I'll show you round 3 next. Alright, just putting my last half double crochet in there, so we should have 12 stitches around for round 2. We are going to slip stitch to this first half double crochet stitch right in here. Oops. Go under the front and back loop, and yarn over, pull through, and through. And then chain 1 and turn around, so now we're looking at the outside of your work here. Okay, and for this round, round 3, we are actually, I'm going to pull this out real quick, and we're going to mark a stitch. So we're going to lay this flat, looking at the front of your hat here. Okay, flatten this out. Don't just ignore this gaping hole here. We're going to sew that closed later. We are going to mark a stitch. Okay, so looking at the crown of your head here, marking the stitch that lines up with the crown of the head. Okay, so just fold this here, looking at the stitch that lines up with that looks like this stitch right here for me. Okay, it might be different for you. You can do this one, or maybe I'll do this one actually. It's closer to the crown of the head. And then we're just going to take a piece of yarn and we're just going to mark that stitch. If you have a legit stitch marker, like an actual stitch marker, just mark that stitch. We're going to be making a half double crochet 2 together stitch over there, but I just want to mark it so I know which one to do it on. Okay, so now we're looking at the outside of our work. I'm putting my hook back into the loop. We already chained 1. And now what we're going to do is half double crochet until we get to the marked stitch. Okay, so just half double crochet in each stitch until you get to your marked stitch. Now for me, it's the 4th stitch. For you, it could be something different. Okay, so it does not matter which stitch it is, just half double crochet to that stitch. Then once you get to that stitch, we are going to yarn over, go into that stitch, okay, yarn over and pull through, go directly into the next stitch, and then yarn over and pull through, and then yarn over and pull through all 4 loops on your hook. Okay, we just did a half double crochet 2 together stitch, and that decreases that, and it is getting smaller. Okay, so now what we're going to do, I'm removing my hook from that, and I'm going to go into that stitch that we just created. I'm just going to go in there, grab my stitch marker, and pull it through so that it marks that stitch. So we marked this stitch now, because in the next round we are going to use that for another decrease. And now for the rest of the stitches on this round, we are just going to put a half double crochet into each one of those. So on this round, this is round 3 of our horn, we are going to have 11 stitches at the end of this round because we made a decrease stitch. Okay, and I'm almost there. Now we can go on to round 4. So for round 4, we are going to slip stitch first to this first stitch, yarn over, pull through and through, chain 1, turn your work around so you're looking at the inside of your horn, and we are going to, again, half double crochet into each stitch until we get to the marked stitch, and once we get to the marked stitch we are going to half double crochet 2 together. So let me get to there and I'll show you what I mean. So we're just putting 1 half double crochet into each stitch until we get to that marked stitch. And then it's going to get really tight and difficult, but we're almost done with the horn. Okay, so I'm at the marked stitch now. There it is. So yarn over, go into that marked stitch, yarn over, pull through, go into the very next stitch here, yarn over and pull through, and then yarn over and pull through all 4 loops, and then again we're going to pull this out. Oops. We're going to pull this out, put our hook in there, grab the mark or the marking, there we go, and then pull it through to mark that stitch next, because then on the next round we'll decrease there. Okay, and then just half double crochet in the rest of the stitches on this round, just like that. Perfect. Now we're going to slip stitch to the first stitch of this round, and you should have on round 4 here, you should have 10 stitches. So slip stitch there, chain 1, turn your work so you're looking at the outside of your work here, and now for round 5, 6, 7, and 8 we are going to repeat round 4. So again, just make sure you turn your work every round and chain 1 to start the round, and then just half double crochet into each stitch until you hit the marked stitch. Once you hit the marked stitch, make your half double crochet 2 together stitch, pull your yarn up and pull your marker through to mark that next round, and then just half double crochet into the rest of the stitches, and then slip stitch to the first stitch, turn your work around, and repeat. And do that until you have 6 stitches left, which will be after round 8. And after round 8 I will come back and show you what to do next. Alright, when you finish round 8, just slip stitch to the first stitch there. I only have 6 stitches left. You can see it gets really small, and we're just going to fasten this part off. So chain 1, we're going to cut a long strand to sew, to use it for sewing, because we're going to sew that hole closed. You can remove your stitch marker there and just pull this through that chain 1. Okay, and pull tight. Grab your yarn needle and yarn your needle with that long strand. Okay, and we are going to sew this closed. So I'm just going to go in and out of these stitches and just sew this closed. Just like that. Okay, and then to fasten this off, I'm just going to go around a few of the stitches here, just like this, and then through this loop. I'm just going to come back through that loop and pull tight, and you could do that a couple of times if you'd like. Just come through. You can hold your finger in the loop if you'd like this, and then come back through that loop and then pull tight. Okay, and then just sew in this end to the inside of your hat, stretch it all out, and make sure that it's secure. Now we still have those holes that were super ugly, so trim that. So you can see that big gaping hole there, big gaping hole there. So we're going to turn this inside out. Okay, and we're going to start with this strand because that's what the strand we started with, and we're going to take our yarn needle, yarn our needle with that, and sew that closed. And to do that, we're just going to go around a few of the stitches on this side and then to the stitches on this side. Okay, and just come back around and around. Okay, and then you could just close it as you need to, wherever you need to, kind of make it tight, and then just go around a few of the stitches again to fasten off. Keep your finger in the loop, pull back through the loop, and pull tight, and sew in this end. Okay, now for the other side, because we don't have an extra strand like we did on this side, we have to introduce a new strand. So what I'm going to do is grab some yarn from my yarn ball, and then we're just going to go around this into this hole, oops, right here. Okay, and we're just going to go around and around just like I did on the other side. So one end of this strand is attached to the ball of yarn, and then this side is attached to my sewing needle. So we are just going to close this around just like this. Okay, stretch it out, make sure there's no gaping hole here. Okay, and then I'm just going to take these two strands, I'm going to cut this yarn here, and take these two strands and just tie them in a knot. Okay, so that's a little different method than the first side. Okay, and then I'm just going to take my yarn needle and yarn my needle with both of those strands and just sew those ends in. If I can. There we go. Okay, and then just cut any extra, whatever we have. And that's one of the horns. So now all you have to do is just do the other horn exactly the same way we did this horn, finishing off with the gaping holes and everything. Look at how nice, you can't even see any type of hole anywhere. And you can't even notice like that I even sewed it, which is nice. So that is the horn. Next I'm going to show you this eye for this side, and then lastly I'll show you the mouth. Alright, we are going to make this eye, so I'm going to grab some warm brown starting out here. I'm going to set everything aside, and we are going to start off with a slip knot. So put your short end over your long end, fold that down, pull that through. I showed you that earlier in this video. And we are going to start off by chaining 2. So yarn over, pull through, 1 and 2, and in the second chain from the hook we're going to put 6 single crochets. So go into that chain, yarn over, pull through, and then yarn over and pull through both loops on your hook. That's a single crochet. So there's 1, go back in for a second, here's 2, here's 3, here's 4, 5, and 6. And now I am going to change color. So I'm going to slip stitch to the first single crochet right in here. Just go in. It's kind of difficult. There we go. Yarn over, pull through and through. And then I'm going to chain 1 and cut this yarn, and I'm going to grab a different color for the next round. So pull that through and pull tight. And again, that little circle opening will be closed later when I sew things closed. So now I'm grabbing, this is actually not Super Saver, this is a More yarn. It's an off-white color. You can use Super Savers like soft white or regular white if you want, but I like this More yarn. It's really awesome. So I'm just going to use that. So I'm going to start in any stitch around. You can start in any stitch and just hook on your next color. Pull that through and then chain 1. And then, that's a little piece here, there we go. I'm going to put 2 single crochets into each stitch around. So 1 and 2, there. I'm going to get more yarn here. Okay, next stitch, 1 and 2. And after round 2, we will have 12 single crochets. And I'm actually going to fasten this color off as well. at the end of this round, which I'm almost there, so you can just continue watching. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. Now it looks like this is a stitch here, but I have to count first to make sure. I don't think that's a stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Nope. So that may look like a stitch to you. Do not work in that. That is not a stitch. So now we're going to go into the first single crochet of this round, count back 12, go into that stitch, yarn over, pull through, and through. Okay, and then I'm going to pull everything in the back, chain 1, and cut this yarn. Pull it through that chain 1 and pull tight. Okay, I'm going to change color again. So the next color we have here is this same color as our main color. And you can start in any stitch around. Okay, and we are going to hook that through and chain 1. And we're going to put 2 single crochets in the same stitch that we just attached to. So 1 and 2 in that same stitch. And then we're just going to put 1 single crochet in the next stitch. And then just repeat that all the way around. So 2 single crochets in the next stitch, and then 1 single crochet in the next. Then 2 in the next, and then 1 in the next. And just do that all the way around, and at the end of round 3 you'll have 18 single crochets. And again, I'm almost there, so you can just continue watching. 1 and 2, and then 1. Okay. And to close this round, we are just going to slip stitch to the first stitch. So if you need to, count back 18 stitches, go into the very first stitch here, and yarn over, pull through and through, and then chain 1 and cut your yarn. We're going to change color for the last round. Pull that through and pull tight. Okay, and my last color is very similar to my, oh, I thought it looked like my nails. My nails are a little brighter. But this is like a flamingo color, and I'm just grabbing a bunch of yarn here. We're just going to attach that to any stitch on this round, and we are going to hook that on. Okay, and then chain up 1. And for round 4, we're going to put 2 single crochets in the first stitch. 1 and 2, and then we're going to put 1 single crochet in each of these next 2 stitches. So 1 in that one and 1 in the next one, and just repeat that sequence all the way around. So 2 single crochets in the next stitch, and then 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches, and then 2 in the next and 1 in the next 2. So do that all the way around, and I'll finish round 4 and I'll be right back. Alright, you should have 24 stitches all the way around, and now I'm going to slip stitch to the first single crochet of this round, right in here, yarn over, pull through and through. And now we're done with this eye, so we're going to chain 1, and we're going to cut our yarn long for sewing, and then, oopsie, pull it all the way through that chain 1 there, and pull tight. And now all these strands in the back here, besides this one that we just cut, just grab all those strands in the back, and we're going to trim them short. Okay, just like this. Be careful with your scissors, and toss that. And then what we're going to do is sew this onto our hat next to our other one here. So I'm just going to position them where I want them to be, and you can see the yellow on this one. We're going to do that last. So let's grab our yarn needle and yarn our needle with that long strand that we just cut. Okay, and I'm going to put my hand inside the hat so I don't sew my hat closed. Okay, so I'm just going to guide it from the inside. You want to make sure all these strands are in the back behind the eye. So kind of just bunch them up like that, and then just go into the hat. Oops, that's a little too low, sorry. Retry. Gotta line them up together. So Let's try that again, sorry. Right on this line, right here. Okay, so once you're in, it's easier. And you want it to be centered. Okay, and obviously, you know, you can take your time in sewing this on. I'm just kind of doing it a little bit faster for the camera. So we're just going to go in and out, and in and out, and just tack it onto the hat. And then with the yellow, we're actually going to be like really sewing it on. So this can be kind of like a preliminary, just kind of fast, quick tack on like that. And then go to the inside of your hat and tie this in a knot. So just go around a stitch, just like that. Keep your finger in the loop, come back through the loop, pull tight. Okay, and then just hide this between the two layers of the eye and the hat. And then just cut the extra. Okay, then we're going to grab our yellow, or whatever color you want, and we are going to yarn our needle with that. Okay, we're going to start from the inside. I have to get a ton of yarn, hang on. There we go. Okay, so we're going to start from the inside, anywhere really, and we're just going to go through the stitches of the last round. Okay, so you can see on this eye, we just did the stitches of the last round, just going into the previous round. So, like the second to last round, the third round. So we're just going to go through here. And then we're just going to pull a ton of yarn through. Okay. Again, I'm going to put my hand inside so I don't sew this closed. And we're just going to go straight out. Okay. And I'm going to actually go to the next stitch. So I'm going straight out and then over to the next stitch, like diagonally. And we're pulling this through. And then straight out. And then over to the next stitch and pull. So it's straight out and then over. So again, straight out and then up to the next stitch right here. And if you need to, just do one stitching at a time. This is considered doing 2 stitches at a time, but you could just do like go straight out, go into the hat, pull into the hat, then go from the inside of the hat to the outer, but that's kind of harder because you can't really see. There we go. And then just pull like that. So that takes a little bit more time. That's why I like to just go straight out and then up and over to the next stitch. Just like that. Okay, straight out. And then over. Okay, so do that all the way around and then I'll show you how to fasten this part off. Alright, I came all the way back around. We're going to end on the inside, so we're just going to go into the hat. Okay, just like that. Then we're going to flip to the inside. And I had to cut this side because that was attached to my ball of yarn. And we're just going to tie these 2 strands in a knot. Okay, and then we're just going to take those 2 strands and yarn our needle with them. And then we're just going to go between the 2 layers of the eye and the hat. And just do that. And sew that in, and then cut any extra. And then you just have to do the same exact thing for the other eye. This is really coming together. So now the last thing we have to do is the teeth. So I'm going to grab this white again, and we are going to crochet some teeth. Alright, I'm just going to set my hat aside and grab this white yarn here. And we are going to start off with a slip knot. You know how to do that already. And we are going to start off by chaining 5. So yarn over and pull through 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we are going to slip stitch into the second chain from the hook. I like to work in the back loops of the chain. If you turn your chain towards you, you can see these back ridges here. I am going to work into those. So go into the second chain here. So 1, 2, this is the second chain. We're just going to go into that, and then yarn over, pull through, and pull through the loop on your hook. That's a slip stitch. In the next chain, we are going to single crochet. So go into the next chain, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and pull through 2 loops. That's a single crochet. We are going to half double crochet into the next chain. So yarn over, go in to the next chain, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops. And the last chain here, we are going to double crochet. So yarn over, go into that last chain. If you can get in there. It's not easy. There we go. Yarn over, pull through, and then yarn over and pull through 2 loops, and then yarn over and pull through those other 2 loops. And there is 1 tooth. Sweet. Now we are going to chain 6, so yarn over and pull through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And we are going to do is similar to what we did here. So in the second chain from the hook, we are going to slip stitch. So I'm going to turn my chain toward me and then slip stitch into that back ridge there of that second chain. Yarn over, pull through and through. Then go into this next chain here, make a single crochet. Then the next chain gets a half double crochet. So yarn over, go in, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops, and the next chain gets a double crochet. So yarn over, go in, yarn over, and pull through, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, and pull through 2 loops. This next chain gets nothing. It's just unworked. It's just a space between the teeth. Okay, so we're just going to have the 2 teeth there. So now we're just going to repeat what we did from here to here. Okay, so we're going to chain 6 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then slip stitch into the second chain. Then single crochet into the next chain. Then half double crochet into the next chain. Oops. And then double crochet into the next chain. And then leave that other chain unworked. And there's your 3rd tooth. Okay, and you can make as many of these as you want. I'm going to do 4 total, so here's another chain 6, and then my last tooth is going to be slip stitch. Next chain is a single crochet, next chain is a half double crochet, and this next chain is a double crochet. And then leave that other chain unworked. So now I have 4 teeth, okay? Now this edge is a little rough, I guess you could say. So what we're going to do is chain 1, and we're going to single crochet across this flat edge here. So what we're going to do, wherever your hook fits is where you should single crochet. So go in, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, again, go in, wherever your hook fits, just leave a single crochet. We're just cleaning up this edge. You can single crochet into this chain that's between the teeth that we left unworked, just like that, and then just go wherever your hook fits. So I'm just going to single crochet across this edge, and once I get to the other end, I'll come back and show you what to do next. Alright, when you get to the end, just chain 1, and we're going to cut our yarn long for sewing, and we're going to pull it all the way through that chain 1 and pull tight. Okay, and there are 4 teeth, just like that. Now grab the hat. Now you can decide how you want to do your teeth. I am going to make my teeth going upward this way. Okay, but you can decide if you want your teeth to go downward. Either way is super cute, but I'm going to decide this one is going to be upward, and I'm going to be folding my hat up 3 from the 3rd one down. So I'm going to fold this up where I'm going to fold my hat, okay, evenly all the way around, just like this. So then I'm going to put my teeth right behind that. Oops, I'm going to go actually down a little bit so that it is, oh my gosh, that's going to be so cute. How funny. Okay, so I'm going to put my mouth right here. And make sure it's centered, make sure you line it up. Then we're just going to grab our yarn needle. So, yarn the needle with the long strand that we cut. And you can take your crochet hook and pull the short strand through to the other side. Okay, just like that. And now I'm going to go in and out along this edge. Just like this. And similarly to how I sewed on the eyes, I'm going to sew on the teeth. So I know my hands are kind of getting in the way here, but I'm going to stretch these out just a little bit. There we go. Sorry, my hand's like in the way, but you get the idea. Just going in and out of stitches. Okay, and then going up. Oops. There. Okay, so I'm just going to go up and down all the way across here, and when I get to this point I'll show you how to fasten off. Alright, you just want to end on the inside, so I just came back around, so just ending it on the inside of the hat, and then just taking both of those 2 strands and just tying those in a knot. You can tie them however you like. Okay, and then just sew those ends in underneath between the 2 layers of the hat and the teeth. Okay, and sew in this end as well. But that's it. Then make sure just to sew in any extra ends that you may have. And there is the Misfit monster hat. Oh my gosh, it's so adorable. And here, look at, I flipped this edge up so it looks like it's coming out of this edge. How cute is that? Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for watching and learning how to make this adorable Misfit monster hat. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you make this, I'd love to see what colored monsters you come up with. Please share photos on the Facebook page and give this video a like. Make sure to subscribe to our channel here on YouTube. Check out all my social pages. They're all linked in the description of this video. And there it is. Thank you to Red Heart Yarns for providing this yarn. Big thank you to my dad behind my shoulder who is filming this whole tutorial. And zooming in really tightly so you can see all the stitches. Yeah. And big thank you to you for watching. You guys are the best. I love the YARNutopia community. Until next time, happy hooking!